Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum, Alum, and James. How you going, guys?
Not bad.
So James has been quietly dying over watching every notable movie released in 2022.
And not notable as well.
Noble endeavour.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So listeners might remember.
Hold on, James, get back in your cave because I don't think you caught every single movie released in
No, I
2022.
didn't. There's more. I had to literally stop myself. So I started catching up on all the movies I missed from 2022, and once I got started, the list kept growing and growing and snowballing, and I would watch a movie and then realize that there's a related, not a related movie, but a similar movie that came out that year.
Related.
Yeah, or something else would come up in my research or whatever the word is, and I would move on to that movie, and it would snowball.
I think it's definitely a hole that you shouldn't go down
I'm never doing this again.
because it's endless. Essentially.
Yeah. So, and especially because I'm not getting paid to do it or anything. I'd love to be a film critic, but I'm not going back to uni to be for a journalist degree or whatever. But
I like to think that the currency you earn, James, is value of art.
Yeah. Well, hopefully someone enjoys this because I put a lot of work into it.
Recently, the podcast seems to be doing okay. I'm just saying. We don't know how real the stats we see are.
I don't know. If all those listens aren't bots,
keep on listening.
Please give us a sign. I know there's a couple. There's a couple people who are like, we're not bots, thumbs up, and I'm like, yeah, cool. But yeah, no.
Anyway,
the metrics don't add up. Anyway, so I've been catching up on movies from 2022, and once I started, I couldn't stop. And it just kept growing. The list kept growing and growing, and I pretty much stopped watching most TV shows, and I stopped watching all other movies, and was just, watching movies from 2022.
A man on a mission.
Yeah,
a terrible mission.
No, I actually enjoyed it a lot because I love watching movies, and most of the movies I watched were great. But yeah, it just took up all my time, and then just compiling this list of my favorite films or whatever. It took me good portion of Saturday, all day Sunday, and all Monday night. And I'm still, you can see, I'm showing Nathan now, you can see I'm still scribbling, on things, moving things around on the list and, question mark, should this be here, should it not be? So
it's roughly ordered, but might not necessarily, don't say... It's not
concrete.
Yeah.
So for listeners, I've created a list of my top 25 movies of 2022. Now, I think the top 5 to 10 are pretty solid, but they could change, once I rewatch certain movies and, my feelings change towards them. The other 15, the closer you get to the bottom, the order can go almost any way. But I kind of wanted to highlight those films because they had some sort of effect on me. And then after that, I've got honorable mentions. And then
And then just a big old list.
Yeah, and then after the honorable mentions, I was like, well, there's other honorable mentions, but they're not as honorable. So I called them honorable mentions runners up. And then after that, I just listed every film I watched.
I've got some
in
notes.
alphabetical order.
I've got some notes myself as well. I've just put Y next to one specific movie.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah. So basically, I watched from 1st of January 2022 to 30th of April 2023, which is a couple of days ago as of this recording. I watched 386 movies, which is 386 movies in 484 days. Out of those 386 movies, 134 of them were 2022 releases, including some films that technically were 2021 films, but sort of because Australia gets things late.
Distribution issues.
Yeah, and certain countries get things later. But I was kind of going through the list, and I decided to cut out a lot of those because they were definitely more 2021 films. I left them at the bottom of the list just for posterity, but otherwise they're not included in any of my rankings or my other list.
Definitely a lot of movies that sort of get released digitally in America or Europe, and
Yeah.
then they come to the Hoyts or Village cinemas or
Yeah.
wherever you go for like 1 week, like 6 months
Yeah,
after
yeah,
it's available on
exactly.
Blu-ray
Yeah.
elsewhere.
So it's like
that doesn't count.
it doesn't get but then there are other. So out of those 134, 122.
2022.
At
Tongue
2022. Originally, I had top 22 of 2022, but there were 3 films I had to get up in my ranking. So out of those 134 films, 122 of them were films.
Out of the 386.
Out of the 386, 134 were 2021 1/2,
yeah.
22.
But 122 were solid.
Out of those,
2022
yes,
movies.
exactly. So the 122 is this list that I've compiled of my top 25 honorable mentions, and then the rest. There's a few films that like technically like late 21, early 2022, whatever. And there's definitely one film that I had in my top 10 that I just didn't want to get rid of. That's more firmly a 2021 film. But I just couldn't let it go. And it technically came out in Australia in 2022, so I left it in the list. This is another reason why I'm never doing this again, because I was just like thinking, when did this come out? I'm like, technically this is 21, but in Australia we always get it late, but I don't count it, because The Whale came out in 2022 in America, but we didn't get it till what, Jan or Feb?
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. No, 2022.
2022, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like that's a 2022 film, not a 2023 film. We didn't get it here until 2023.
I get my years confused.
Yeah.
Go.
Right? So I'm like, that's definitely firmly a 2022 film. But if I was to go off Australia, then it's 2023. But then there are other movies that are technically like 2021, but then they came out 2022 in Australia. I'm like, I'm going to count the... it was case by case. It really depended. Anyway, I'm never doing this again. This was horrible. Watching the movies was pretty good, but the compiling the list... Yeah. So... We don't have enough time to get through everything.
Look, for listeners, I have the sheet in front of me. I'm not going to reveal any spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
But the man did his work because one of my favorite actors is in a movie in the top 3. So
yes, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So I've given Callum.
We're changing him, folks. We're slowly changing him.
We've given Callum and Nathan, and I've given Callum, Nathan, and Alum a copy of the list so they can follow along, and also if there's anything they want to bring up or highlight, they can reference the list. I'll talk to the boys after the show. Maybe there's some way we can put the list up on social media. Yeah. I don't know what the best way would be. Do it. Maybe just screenshot a PDF or something.
Yeah, we'll just upload it.
I don't know if I should redo the list to include my little notes or scan it. I don't know if that's something people want to see. But yeah, the list is ever changing. Even right now, I'm still scribbling on it. But yeah, let's get started because we don't have a lot of time. We're going to do a bit longer episode, but still, there's 100. I keep wanting to say 122. There's 120. Again, there's 122 films to get through. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly go through the top 25. Those are the most important. I'm not going to do 25 to 1. Because as we run out of time, I'm going to be rushing.
You want to talk about the most important?
So yeah, I'll talk about like top 5, top 10. Those will be the most important, and then we'll go down. We'll go down the list. All right.
Starting off with the one everyone can assume.
Drum roll.
The one.
Have you seen this, Alan?
No.
We told him to watch it, but yeah.
I started watching True Detective. That's all.
Oh, you did?
Season 1.
Okay, good. We'll
talk about this after the show. Please continue, James.
That's good. Okay.
The one everyone assumes will be number 1.
Yeah, I've already said this on the show. My number 1 top film of 2022 is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Which won all the awards everywhere.
Yes. Which, as we discussed a few episodes ago, the Oscars is garbage, but it's kind of awesome to see my favorite film of the year, and one I think is one of the best films of the year, if not one of the best films of the decade, actually get props from an institution that usually just pats themselves on the back, gives the award to the boring candidate. So it's good that they got that recognition, but even if they didn't, the movie is still incredible. We reviewed it a few months ago now. I saw it back when it came out a year ago in April 2022. And yeah, I loved it. I think it's one of the best written, directed, and edited movies in a long time. I think the directors, the Daniels,
the editing
the fact that it just has so much going on and yet just all works and all comes together in the end, and all the characters have their own little arc and motivation, and
Hot Dog Fingers.
And Hot Dog Fingers, more importantly, yeah. And it's so funny and yet so emotionally, powerful and sad, and it just, I loved it.
Who thought Hot Dog Fingers could be so tender?
It's the Daniels, man. I think we talked about this, where I was like, even if you watch their music videos, like, they take a stupid concept that most people would throw in the bin, and they run with it, and they execute it perfectly.
I'm just disappointed that we didn't get a smell my finger joke with Hot Dog Fingers.
No, but they did do the fingers in the mouth with the mustard and the yeah. If someone hasn't seen this film, they're going to be like, "What the hell are they? Are they talking about a porno film?" Yeah. Oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once is amazing. So number 2, top movie of 2022. This could also be number 1, but I didn't want to do ties. I've cheated enough in this list. I didn't want to start doing ties. This could also be tied for number 1, is The Banshees of Inisherin. That movie changed me. I think it's one of the best movies of the decade. It is very funny and also probably one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my life. It devastated me.
How does it shape up? How does it shape up to The Whale?
They're both devastating
in their own ways.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think Banshees had the more deeper impact. And I think it's the better film. That's why it's number 2. And yeah, I loved it. Martin McDonagh, the writer-director, I love all his films. So as soon as this was announced, I'm there day one. I actually got to see an advanced screening in early December, I think, before the movie officially came out in Australia. I got to see an early screening of it with a friend of mine. After the movie, I was just devastated. I was just like, it changed my life. And yeah, it's just so well written, so well acted. It's beautiful and it's so layered. There's so much going on. Should I mention what the movie's about? Because
it's about the breakdown of a friendship.
So about Banshees in Inisherin, obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously. Well, let's move on then.
I was assuming it was about some kind of eldritch creature.
No, it's not at all.
So I've been bamboozled
the eldritch creature is dying love, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about two friends played by Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. And it's like 1920s Ireland, on a like small island off the coast of Ireland, called Inisherin.
And they fight over potatoes?
No. That would be, it's a very fun film, whereas this is, But see, this is the thing. It's the balance between the black comedy and the kind of deep, sad drama that Martin McDonagh does so well. But yeah, anyway, they're two friends, and then one day, Brendan Gleeson's character is just like to Colin Farrell's character, I don't want to be friends anymore. And he's like, but why? And he's like, just cause. And it just escalates from there. And after I saw it with my friend, we went for a walk, and I said...
to your friend and he said, I don't want to be friends anymore.
No. I turned to my friend and I said, this is a movie about... It's Men Don't Talk About Their Feelings, the movie. And we had this long discussion about it, and I came to realize a lot of things about myself.
Don't get emotional, James.
I'm going to start crying. When we get to the whale, I'll start crying.
I was joking because
you'll start crying.
Men don't talk about their feelings.
You'll start crying when we get to number 3. I'll start crying when we get to number 5. Yeah. Anyway, incredible film. If Everything Everywhere wasn't just so crazily well put together, Banshees would be definitely top of the list. Number 3. Callum? You want to
Top
say
Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick?
The danger zone returns.
That's it.
So most of the movies on this list are like arty or dramatic or, you know, very emotionally impactful or changed me in some sort of, had a very emotional, you know, effect on me. But Top Gun Maverick, god damn, that's a good action
It's
movie.
a good Star Wars
That's
movie.
a fun, yeah. It's just a fun, well, like executed spectacle,
It's with
like
very
action.
little CG. Like they use
Yeah,
planes.
exactly.
Because
That's
the
all we
man
want.
cares.
Like, yeah.
So I know he's a complicated man in his personal life,
yeah.
but he loves cinema and he loves the moviegoers.
It's
He
the-
said it. He said it before. He'll say it again, but he delivers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He puts his life on the line for our
That's
entertainment.
it. The pain it must cause James to put a Tom Cruise
Yeah,
movie.
above some of these other
Yeah.
incredible, like,
Above
let's
the Fablemans?
face it. Yeah, let's face it. A lot of the films below it on this list are better, but I'm like, I gotta give it to Top Gun Maverick for being
the
enjoyable.
funnest movie of the year.
almost entirely practical, like jet fighter plane action movie that was so well done and so fun, and I enjoyed it so much. And we don't get movies like this anymore. And yeah, it's just friggin' awesome. Yeah, I just had to give it props.
Yeah, it's like a Navy Star Wars.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's just, but
He's
it's
the Air Force or the Navy? He's the Navy, right?
he's a Navy pilot, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like people often, I think we've talked about this before, like people often, we actually talked about, I think when we were talking about the original Star Wars, people mistake simplicity for being bad or boring or cheesy or whatever. Like just because this is a simple action film that follows kind of a formulaic formula.
It's a standard plot.
Yeah. That doesn't mean it's bad. That doesn't
No.
mean it didn't do it very, very well. Also, the fact that it's like a legacy sequel that's like, 40, 30
It
years
doesn't
later.
reboot cool well.
Yeah, and it's like
another
most of
thing.
those are garbage. Most of the time we complain about those. Most of the time I roll my eyes. But the fact that this one, I would argue, is even better than the original, that's unheard of. It's impressive.
Yeah, very good.
So, yeah.
Doesn't have shirtless men, but it is what it is.
It had shirtless.
Yeah, they
men.
were at the beach.
They had the beach scene.
Yeah, but there was no homoerotic undertones, James.
Oh, there was a little bit. Not as much as the original, but
Not
there
as
was
much
a
as
bit.
there should have been, but we'll continue.
Hey, you bring to the movie what
In
you
the
bring to the
Navy.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Yeah, but it would have been weirder because one of the kids is like his mate's son, right? So it'd be more of a father-son relationship than a...
Doesn't matter, Alan.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
I think
before
that's where the issue stems.
trust
Yeah.
Alan to bring that up.
I'm just making sure people know
He's
where we're
just
at.
here for the shirtless men, James.
Yes, the AI knows you.
No, and to Mr. Cruise's credit, still kept himself well in shape,
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not human. He's not human.
He's not. Anyway, I'm sorry, James.
All
Continue.
right, moving on. Number 4.
Zenu's got him some steroids. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Xeno's the bad guy. This is what people
Still.
don't understand
Well,
about the
Doesn't
Scientology.
have a-
Let's move on,
Are
please.
you actually like Tom
Hashtag
Cruise is
this
the bad guy?
episode,
All right. After Sun.
All right, After Sun, number 4. This
We're gonna do a bit where I get to take a guess at what the movie's about. It's sort of like Sun,
all right, we'll do that, but you have to be really quick.
right, Sun explodes and we have to find a new star.
No, but I would watch that movie.
Very good,
That's called Sunshine. That came out about 15 years ago.
excellent.
Okay, After Sun is my number 4. Technically, this is like better than Top Gun Maverick and affected me more, but I had to put it under because, like I said,
What
Top
is
Gun
it
Maverick
about?
was so good. So After Sun is an A24. I've got a lot of A24 movies on this
Of
list.
course.
Everything Everywhere is the first one.
Yeah, fair
After
enough.
Sun is the second one.
'Cause they do good films.
Yeah. After Sun, it's like a small indie film by a first-time feature film writer-director, Charlotte Wells. She's kind of made a semi-autobiographical film about a trip she took with her dad to, I want to say Turkey, in like the
Oh, I know
late
this
late
one.
90s,
Yeah,
early
yeah.
2000s, when she was like 10 or something. I can't remember the exact age. And the movie's not 100% accurate to what happened, but it's just like a sort of semi-autobiographical retelling of that. And so it's about a little girl on vacation with her dad, and he's a young dad, divorced from the mum. He's like 30, And as I was watching the movie, it's shot in this very claustrophobic, like kind of the character's always on the side of the frame and kind of really close up, and you don't really get a good sense of. And I thought it looked really nice and it sounded really nice, and the performances were really fantastic, especially from, you know, the little girl. This is her first movie, I believe. And as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, this is really good. I really enjoy this. And then it ended, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. It stuck with me, and I still think about it now, and I want to go rewatch it. I haven't had time. I think it's still playing at the Nova because it's doing so well. It's been playing for months. I might go back and see it. It, like with Banshees, like, it's the little girl's point of view of her father, but she's only little, and she can't understand what he's going through.
Yeah.
And that's why the movie is told in that kind of weird way, where the camera is not always maybe where it would be in a quote-unquote normal film. And there's also a framing device, which is never explained, which is kind of like her looking back at an old VHS camcorder recording of the holiday, like when she's older, like now that she's the dad's age. And so it's this fascinating... And there's no like exposition around this. I'm explaining it so you get an idea, but it's just all told through visuals and the characters interacting, and you get a sense of that the dad is not in a good place. But again, because it's from the girl's point of view, there's no discussion. There's no explicit discussions. There's no scenes of him on the phone talking to a doctor or whatever. It's just her. It's all from her point of view.
Yeah.
So it's like a puzzle movie.
Almost, yeah. And that's why at the end of it, I was just like thinking about all the scenes of the dad.
Yeah.
That
what's
now,
all the subtext?
Exactly. Now that you have the ending, you're like looking back on it and being like, that's why he was doing that.
Yeah.
And there's this like weird threatening tone over the whole movie. You think something bad's going to happen. You think he's going to do something bad. You think something bad's going to happen to the girl. And nothing really does. But that's part of it. You're like, there's something wrong, but we don't know what. And she doesn't know what, because she's just a little girl, and her dad's not going to talk to her. And even if he did, she wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And again, as like with Banshees, it's like men's mental health kind of important. And as a guy who's, you know, around the same age as that character, yeah, it affected me deeply, and I think it's a very well made film, and I think Charlotte Wells is one to watch. So I'm interested to see what she does next. Number 5.
The Whale.
The Whale.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Yeah, we were choked up. It was a sad film.
Yeah.
About a sad man.
This movie, I only saw it once. And maybe...
You didn't give Alan a chance to guess what
I'm sorry.
This one was just going to be Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That or someone who's addicted to playing those gotcha games on your phone.
Yeah.
Because they're called rails. Yeah.
Callum and I saw this, and it, you know, I think because of that reaction that we had at the end of the film, I was like, it has to be in my top
Memorable.
5.
You can't,
just because the emotional.
Did you cry like sissies? Did you?
I nearly cried. But
we welled up pretty.
My toxic masculinity kept me in check.
Yeah. There was some.
No, you know what? When you sit there and you're watching, because I don't really cry during movies. I've cried watching Click. Because never again for Click. That's
Click was a scam. It was advertised as a comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a comedy.
They get you with like the dumb fart jokes, and then all of a sudden you're crying because Adam Sandler is fat. Hey, Adam Sandler walked so Brendan Fraser could run. Well, he can't really run because he's so fat.
So he can wheel himself around.
He can use the walking frame.
Goddamn. It's Aronofsky does it again was what I said when the credits started rolling. I said to James, he does it again.
I think I put it in top 5 just purely because of that emotional impact it had on me at the end. And also after the film, I was thinking about it a lot and kind of just trying to decipher each character, and
because they all had separate motivations.
Yeah, and they're all deeply broken people. Yeah. And the whale wasn't just because he's fat. There's a deeper meaning to it. And you know, we haven't really. I mean, we've probably talked about it on Tuesday Review, but back on the old show, we talked a lot about how much I loved Mother, Aronofsky's last film.
Yeah.
Later,
Yeah.
the one before, and everyone hated that movie.
Yeah, and we were like, it
And-
reminds me of that meme. You know the Scooby Doo meme where everyone's looking aghast and there's Fred and he's smiling.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say no, it's the children who are wrong.
I mean that too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
But like, I think this is similar where this one definitely got more favorable reviews, especially Brendan Fraser because he's quite unquote making a comeback.
It's less
And
chaotic.
he's finally
than Mother.
getting his due as an actor. And did he won? He won the
Yeah, he
best
did.
actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And so a lot of people are just in it for that. And then there are a lot of people saying how stagey it is and how melodramatic and cheesy and bad it is.
That's what made it interesting.
But yeah, like that's why I kind of love it. And Aronofsky's kind of good at that. And he makes a film set all in one apartment, so dynamic, and you're moving around. The characters are always
the sense of time is really well done. you know?
Yeah.
Like that's where all the locations, if you want to call it that, it's the flow of time.
And again, this is also another A24 movie. So this is the third A24 on the list. They do good work. Again, like the mental health thing,
Yeah.
like it's so like you
so
know,
hot right now.
Yeah, it not necessarily about
Mental health is fashionable right now.
yeah. Just ask TikTok. I've never been on TikTok. I don't know.
Me neither.
Um,
No.
You have TikTok, don't lie.
Alan doesn't talk about his feelings. He's a manly man.
That's
Exactly.
Even if not necessarily about the weight and the eating issue, which I've suffered from, but just in terms of like having a problem, like an addiction, but also like a non-physical hole you need to fill
it. Yeah.
kind of thing. And I think each character in the movie, not just Brendan Fraser's character, has this.
Yeah.
And that's what, and each character is so deeply broken.
It also ties into the relationship stuff that we've been talking about as well, especially
Yeah.
the parental daughter relationship.
Yeah, with the daughter.
the not talking kind of stuff.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I was just so fascinated by it, how layered it was. And I think people who don't like it, that's fine. But I think
They're wrong. It's not fun.
they're wrong. It's kind of like Banshees is like, I think a lot of people would watch Banshees of Inisherin and go, oh, that was sad, or oh, I like that was a bit
Our
funny,
mum
but then
tried
it
to
got
watch
sad.
it, and she got
Yeah.
like 10 minutes in. She was like, "It's boring." And she
Yeah,
turned it off.
exactly. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people like that, but I'm like, there's so much going on in that movie.
But she sits through Midsummer. But anyway, I don't want to do that.
that's hilarious.
I'm sorry. Continue, James. I'm sorry.
Number 6.
It has a Disney film about a tap dancing hermit crab.
No,
Very good.
but
I can see how you
good.
get that.
Yeah, good. That's a good guess. So this is called Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This is another A24 movie. It's about a little shell and he has little shoes on.
Really?
Yeah. So this is
Is it animated?
partially, yeah.
Okay.
So he's like a little. Actually, can you Google it so you can get an idea of what he looks like?
Yeah.
He's like a little stop motion
Okay.
seashell, about inch tall, 2 inches tall, inch or so wide, and he's got like little sneakers, and he's got like one of those googly
Yeah.
eyes. Can you show? Is it? Yeah. Can you see him? See him, Callum?
Yeah. So my question is why?
Yeah.
That looks vaguely rude.
Yeah. There's a
It gives me
there's a
Plasmo
fleck-
vibes.
Yeah, it's got plasma vibes. Yeah, yeah.
There's a Cronenberginess to it.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
He's like a little shell, and he lives in a house.
Okay.
In a large, like a human,
Under the sea?
a normal human house.
Okay.
So he's animated, but the house is real, and the humans are live action. They're real actors. And he and his family live in this house, and the
Gentrification strikes. The shills ain't welcome over.
shells get out. No, but what happens is the couple who live in the couple who live in the house break up.
Yeah.
The one of the couple like takes all their clothes from the drawer and chucks in a suitcase, and all the family was hiding in the drawer, and the couple leaves, and Marcel is left on his own in the house, and he's trying to find his family, but he doesn't know how, and he's very small, he can't go very far. Anyway, they put up the house for rent, and a new guy moves in. This is all backstory. and he finds Marcel, and he starts making a documentary. So it's kind of like a mockumentary kind of thing, where the sort of main character kind of films Marcel and like interviews him. It's like, what do you do every day? And Marcel takes him around the house and shows him what he does, and then tells him about the family. In
this world, Marcel is not.
No one freaks out about Marcel. Yeah.
So it's not like a weird.
Yeah.
Get the cops, get the FBI.
No, it's not like, wow, a talking shell. It's just like, oh, hey, buddy, where are you from? And he tells him, and he's like, okay. He's like, show me around the house. He's like, okay, and he like follows him around.
And then she's like, you got to pay rent, right?
Yeah. And it's based on these short films that were made by the same director, and Jenny Slate plays Marcel, and Marcel. Yeah. And she does, and basically a lot of it's improvised. She does this little cute shell voice, and she's like, oh, hey, da, da, da. And she just makes things up and kind of riffs to the camera, and then like the guy, the documentarian will ask her questions, and she'll answer as Marcel. And then they had animators animate the little shell walking around and him doing little things, and his grandma's there, and then they go on a journey to find the rest of the family. It was just a really nice, feel-good, wholesome, funny film.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it has that kind of, the missing family and the kind of breakdown of relationships in the background, very far in the background. So you still got that emotional underpinning, but mostly it's just a feel-good movie about this cute little guy he's always positive. And, there's a lot of movies on this list that are very dark and depressing. And I just like this movie. He's just like a little shell. He always looks on the bright side of life. He's a little cute shell. And, yeah, it's like a fun little movie. Yeah.
Before we get to number 7.
Okay.
We'll just go to a very quick break. We'll be back.
Oh, my God. We're only up to 7.
Yeah, we'll get there. You are back on the Tuesday review. We're doing the top 25 movies of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We're currently up to number 7. Alan, would you guess what Athena is about?
Story about a Greek man living on a small island.
No, but good guess. So this is a movie. It's a French movie that has been released on Netflix. I think you guys will really like it. I just came across it randomly on YouTube. Some guy was talking about his favorite films of 2022, and he's like, "Oh, this one," and I was like, "I've never heard of that," and it looked kind of interesting, and so I watched it, and it was awesome.
So what's it
It's about? So it's set in contemporary Paris, and it's about like a bunch of like, I don't know, like not essays, like young hooligans. They wear the tracksuits, and they.
So just Frenchies.
Yeah, but no, but like there's like a specific like young.
Have you watched the movie La Haine or The Hate?
Yeah, like something like that, like those, like Chavs, but the French version.
Yeah.
Anyways, a bunch
Le
of
Chavs.
Le Chavs.
Yeah. So it's a bunch of. One of the and they're all a lot of them are Algerian immigrants or from Algerian families or African immigrants or whatever, and they live in these big housing commissions and whatever.
Yeah, so essentially they're like the French version of like the Chavs, kind of.
Sort of. Yeah.
Just houses.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the main family in the film, their youngest brother is murdered by French police. And so the kind of middle brother, he goes on a rampage and he gets all the boys together and they basically go on a like huge riot.
What the French do best.
Yeah. And this was before the
Hey, Alan's laughing like I'm being a racist. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
The
But
only
this was
thing they do
before
about the
that.
riot is surrender. But we won't get into that.
This is before that even, so it's it's prescient. But this is what they do, and that's what they should do. This is what we should do. Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
yeah. So the movie's shot in like these really long unbroken takes, as if it's one shot.
But is it like legit unbroken takes, or is it clever? Still like
No, it's legit.
Birdman-esque.
No, yeah, it's legit long
Splicing.
takes, but not the whole movie. It's very long takes, and then there'll be a small cut, and then another really long take.
Respect.
Yeah, And the other thing it starts with them like raiding the police station and like burning it down and like throwing stuff and like stealing equipment, and the camera's like moving in and out, and there's guys, you know, and there's cops like throwing smoke grenades, and the cameras, and then like they get in a van, and like police van, and they steal it and they drive out, and the camera like zooms around the van and then goes in the van and goes through all the guys and then goes out of the van, and then the van, you know, keeps going through the streets of Paris and it's following, and then the camera goes up and they get to the housing commissions. And they've blocked off the housing commissions with like a makeshift barrier of just stuff and like fires and junk and rubble. And they've like basically fortified themselves within the housing commission. And they've kidnapped a policeman, and they're like, we're going to kill him unless the killer of our brother is brought to justice. And it becomes like a Greek tragedy. Like it's like an old... Like all the cops come with their riot gear and, you know, the shields and the batons, and they start storming the housing commissions. And it's these long unbroken takes, and the camera kind of craning down and then keep going through the crowd and then going up and around. And it's like an old like Roman soldier war movie, but in contemporary France.
And released on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay.
And it's really
yeah.
top notch. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I haven't seen a movie like this in a very
How
long
did they
time.
sneak this past the Netflix generic machine?
I don't know. I guess because maybe in France it got a proper cinema release, and then no one else wanted to release it in overseas. So Netflix was like, yeah, yoink.
Yeah.
There's even a making of on Netflix that shows the behind the scenes of how they did the long takes. Like they have to go through the crowds, and if someone bumps the cameraman, you have to start all over again. Like
Oh
it's
my
this
God.
really impressive
It's almost
movie.
like a dance. It's kind of just like making sure
it's
everyone's
this
got their
really
steps
everything has to
exactly
be
right.
very well
Yeah.
choreographed and done perfectly, and it's so well done. There's like no CGI crap. It's like hundreds of police on screen, and you know like 100 like rioters, and they're like throwing smoke grenades and setting fires, and it's all in camera and all in long unbroken takes. And meanwhile, there's this Greek tragedy of it all, of these the dead brother, the middle brother, the older brother who's actually an ex-soldier, I think, and he's trying to like, I can't remember if he's a cop. He might be a cop even. He's like trying to broker peace between his family and his people, and his sort of
And the state.
and his country.
Yeah.
Or his adopted country. And then there's another older brother, half brother, who's like a criminal, like a gun runner and drug dealer.
And he's also like, no, we don't need this. We don't need
Yeah,
this.
no,
I got
exactly.
warrants, man.
That's exactly. He's like, stop doing this writing crap. You're bringing attention to my business. I have to go and hide my stash now and get and so it's this whole like, war between brothers, war between, your loyalty to your family and your loyalty to your, country or, the country you've adopted. And there's this, it's just awesome, and I really loved it. So yeah, I think you guys should watch it. I think you really like it.
Sounds really technically impressive.
It's very, very impressive.
All right.
Alan, what's
Petite Maman is a French story about teenage pregnancy.
No, but that's a good guess. Just based on the title,
was gonna
not
say-
based on the movie.
I was
A
going to say
small
it's
mother.
about. I was going to say it's about yogurt based on what is it about?
Petit, yeah. So number 8 is Petite Maman, which in French means little mum or little mother. And this is the film that came out in 2021, but it immediately went in my top 10, and I was like, I'm not moving it. I don't care. This is my list. I'll do what I want. And technically, I looked it up, and I was like, I'm sure this came out in early 2022 in Australia. And I kept looking up, couldn't really find anything. Eventually, I found something that said, it came out like March 2022 in Australia. I was like, yeah, I think that's right. I'm like, I don't care anymore. This movie is too good for me to take it out of my top 10 or to disqualify it from my list like some of the others. So I'm keeping it in because it's awesome. It's another French movie because the French, they know how to do cinema.
Apart from Gaspar, no, but continue.
Yeah, but he's his own kind of creature. It's just a little film. It's only like 75 minutes long. And I don't want to give too much away because I didn't really know anything about it except for like a very, very basic, very, very basic premise. And I knew it was directed by Celine Sciamma is a French director who made Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Oh, that's a famous one.
Yeah, which is one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Very, very good movie. And I knew she directed this one, and I wasn't really sure what it was about. I don't know. Yeah, I think I might have seen the teaser trailer or something. Anyway, I watched it, and I really liked it. It's very small, intimate, kind of wholesome, quiet, lovely little film about a woman. Her mother dies, so her husband and her little 8-year-old daughter go to the grandma's house to sort of clean everything out, you know, donate stuff, throw stuff away, keep stuff, separate, you know, take all the donate all the furniture, that kind of stuff. And the little girl, you know, obviously just lost her grandma, so that's hard for her. She goes playing in the woods and she meets another little girl her same age, and they become friends. And that's all I'll say, because I didn't know what was going to happen for the rest of the movie. So then when what happens, I was like, oh damn, I didn't know this was going to happen. This is cool. Don't worry, it's not anything sinister.
It's time travel, isn't it?
No comment.
From what the movie is named, I can guess the little girl is grandma. But that's
No
what I can
comment.
assume from
No comment, yeah.
what we know.
But yeah, I really liked it. It's very sweet, very nice film.
Nice. Is it a mum movie?
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, as a manly man,
as a toxic man,
as a toxic man, like I really
it was a
enjoyed
little
it.
too effeminate for me.
No, I loved it. That's why it's in
I
my
just
top
want
10.
I do want listeners to understand
We're
there's actually
joking.
No,
there's
it's
actually
a
no
joke.
toxic masculinity in this studio.
Yeah, no.
Well,
maybe.
Alan's
Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
All right, next one. Oh, Alan, you got to guess this one.
The Fabelmans, I actually got no idea, so I decided it's a Christmas movie about a family and they go through like a series of short story kind of adventures.
The Fabelmans is a good name for a Christmas movie or a sort of storybook adventure movie.
It's also the name of the banger that is Steven Spielberg's
Yeah.
semi-legit biography.
Yeah,
Blah, blah, blah.
semi-autobiographical. Yeah, I had to put it in there. We've talked about this before. Spielberg made a movie based on his early kind of childhood and teenage
Yeah.
years.
He'd had it written, partially written for years, but he wouldn't film it until his parents passed away.
Yeah, he's been trying to make it for a long time, but he wasn't really sure. And
Came
then
close a few times when he was pinching the breathing tube. He's like, I want to make this movie.
he's unplug his parent.
Yeah, that's it.
God damn.
I'm sick of waiting for this movie.
Look, he's not Charles. Leave the man alone.
He
Wow, that went
yeah,
dark real quick.
during COVID, he was like, I don't know what's going to happen. Our movie's going to exist anymore. I got to make this movie. And so he finally did. And I think it's one of his best films in a long time. I really enjoyed it. He's just such a master filmmaker.
Yeah.
I haven't liked a lot of his 21st century films, at least not as much as his, classic stuff. But I think this is just incredible.
Yeah.
Really fun, funny, but also kind of heartfelt.
Oh.
And just lots of Spielberg, like, masterful, like, action and camera work. And
Yeah.
and also, we talked about how I liked that it wasn't just a jerk-off, like, oh, aren't movies so awesome?
Yeah.
It was more like him trying to decipher why he is this way, why he sees the world this way, why he loves movies so much, why he has this compulsion to make films, and also him reconciling with his
family
relationship
drama.
with his
Yeah.
father and his mother and their divorce. And Callum can attest, it's an awesome movie.
It was fantastic. We were very lucky to go to see this in the cinemas, which, thank you, Sunshine.
Yeah. It wasn't playing at Broady. Gee, they need to get their act together.
Seth Rogen has a good dramatic performance in this film.
Yes.
Barely does the Seth Rogen laugh, so a testament to
He's
that.
he's toned it down a bit. Yeah.
Not for Donkey.
He's
He
not
did tone
full-
it down for Donkey
yeah.
Kong.
He's not full of like
Oh,
weed.
Yeah. He's not
Um,
full Seth Rogen, but he's like still the funny uncle character.
But it's. I mean, what can I say? I don't want to ruin
Yeah,
it.
it's full of great-
we did a review on it.
Great performances. It looked fantastic, and I think
emotional undercurrent.
I think we also talked about how this is a movie that feels luxurious in its production because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, there's old cars
there's
and,
a monkey,
and an old hat, and there's an actual real monkey and
Yeah.
stuff.
And it's also really cool when you see how they used to make movies, with the gun scene and the pinpricks.
Spielberg specifically, like how he used to make movies when all he had was like an 8mm camera and
Nothing.
no money, no sound.
Yeah.
Like he's just such a genius.
Yeah.
All right, number 10.
Holy Spider. I believe it's about a priest who acts as a data broker in the Vatican.
Oh no, but I would watch that.
Wow.
That would be interesting. We should get Alum to generate some AI scripts. Yeah. We can make some money. Send us check. So Holy Spider is...
The other alternative was going to be a spider in the pocket of the Pope. And just goes on an adventure.
Oh, I want to see that. Like a Marcel the
Like a
Shell.
Ratatouille, but it's the
Yeah,
book.
he's a little cute stop motion spider. Yeah. He's got a little hat, little Pope's hat. Okay, I want to see that. So Holy Spider is a film about loosely based on a real life serial killer in the early 2000s in the holy city of Mashhad in Iran.
Jesus.
I think that's how you say this city's name. I can't remember it. And this is one I saw sort of later in my run, and it sort of kind of kept bumping up my kind of rankings because it was just so well made, well directed, well acted, and it's set in a place in a world that I guess doesn't get a lot of. At
Well,
least we don't see it a lot.
It's kind
Yeah.
of hard to. It's kind of hard to make movies, at least.
Well, it was
In
shot
Iran.
it was shot in Jordan because obviously
Yeah,
they wouldn't be allowed to do it in Iran.
Like, even the limited movies that kind of. There's a few movies that have been released that take place in Iran. Obviously, they're filmed elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then all the actresses
I've
and
seen-
actors get
yeah,
banned from seeing
yeah,
their families
exactly.
in Iran. So it's like
Yeah.
Iran's kind of like a weird kind
I've
of.
seen
Everyone wants to be at arm's length from
I've
Iran
seen-
because
yeah.
there's ramifications.
I've seen some movies that were actually made in Iran and set in Iran, and they have some good,
But you
good
take a
stuff
gamble.
there. But but it's not. It's just something different. There's not. This is the only kind of Persian
Yeah.
centered film on my list. It's not. There's a lot of French movies on this, but not a lot of, Iran Persian movies. So, yeah, and it's kind of like a slightly fictionalized telling of that, where they take a female journalist who was a person in real life but didn't have the same involvement, was just kind of tangentially writing about it. They take her and they put her like right in the middle of it, and she goes undercover. So this serial killer was going around the holy city and murdering prostitutes or sex workers, my apologies. And basically the cops weren't doing anything because sex workers aren't seen as, they're seen as sinners or whatever. And the sort of holy, what's it called? The kind of
Religious police.
the religious the religious
potpourri.
the religious government, the religious
Yeah.
sort of overseers of
Theocracy.
they are not going to do anything because it's like cleaning the streets or whatever.
To the government, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of letting it slide. And so it's about this female journalist who goes undercover, tries to expose tries to find the killer and, bring him to justice, and how she faces, misogyny
reality,
and, all that stuff. And yeah, it's just,
So is it
Just-
a thriller?
yes. And it's just, very stark, kind of gritty film about the underbelly
Cool.
of this religious city and how, the people on the outskirts, the drug addicts and the sex workers and whatever, get treated as non-human. And
Yeah.
when someone comes along and starts murdering them, even in the West, oftentimes, who cares kind of thing. But especially in this case,
Yeah.
the religious aspect of it, the movie's definitely about that, like pushing that, like kind of the misogyny women face, and it's a good movie, but also got me thinking like how brave, the women in Iran who are protesting at the moment, and the women in Afghanistan who are protesting. I'm just like, we have it so easy.
We
Yeah.
do. Because, like, the consequences for, doing what you think is right, especially in
standing up
in
to
countries like these or situations like these.
we complain a lot about the politicians in Australia, but at the end of the day, we're safe. But there are a lot of countries around the world where you can't say anything because
It's not safe to do so.
you get. So it's just that was a really good kind of crime thriller based around something that I wasn't familiar with. I looked it up on Wikipedia afterwards, and it's kind of a messed up story. And you also see a lot of the serial killer's point of view. So it's not all just her investigating, finding the bodies. It's also you see him, how he does it and how he gets away with it. It's a good movie.
13 Lives.
Number 11.
Alan, what's that
Okay.
about?
A story about a girl and her pet cat that she loves very much. But the pet cat gets killed and then like taken to like by a truck or something, and it gets like taken like to Mexico or something. And the cat has to make its way back to the little girl, but on the way it loses another 11 of its lives, like in different accidents and
The
stuff.
cats have 9 lives, not 13.
Isn't it? Oh, my
Yeah.
bad. I don't goof that one then.
No, the cat just gains an extra
Maybe it's a
4,
magical.
yeah.
No, I don't goof that
Maybe
one
it's
then.
about a cat who's on his 9th life and tries to. Actually, the Puss in Boots is on this list somewhere.
13 lives.
Not in my top
Okay.
25, but
See, maybe it's actually like a grammar tune. It's 13 lives.
No,
It's
I
about
don't
her-
goofed it.
yeah.
A prisoner has a number
Cats
13
know.
tattooed on him or something.
13 lives. 13 lives. So this one I was not expecting to like as much as I did. It was originally my top 10. It was my 10th film, but Holy Spider knocked it out. So, number 11, 13 Lives. It's that movie they made about the Thailand cave disaster, about all those,
yes.
the boys soccer, the Thailand
Yeah,
soccer
yeah.
kids soccer team who was stuck in that cave when it got flooded, and about the divers who went in and sort of got them out.
One of whom was famously called Pedo Guy by Elon Musk.
Oh
which
yeah,
led to
Elon.
a lovely lawsuit and settlement.
Yeah, he got defamed real hard.
Yeah.
We
Let the record
gotta
say
get off Twitter.
Elon settled that. So
That was bad back then. Now it's even worse. Anyway,
Now it's the Wild West, baby.
yeah. So as soon as that event happened and was all over the news, like the film rights were like everyone was trying to
So
get
who
it
would have
made.
to sell the film rights? The kids?
I don't know how it works.
The diver?
I think technically because
Thailand?
it's a public event, like
Yeah.
you can make a movie about it. There's just certain things you'd have to change. I don't know. I don't care. But
I guess you use likeness, they'd probably try and get like some people's
permission.
permissions. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, as soon as it happened, movies were in production. And when that happened, you roll your eyes. You're like, Hollywood is so sick.
And,
And
cynical, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they're out of ideas and they're just trying to. And I think there was I don't know how many eventually came out. I think there was a Thai series on Netflix. I think. I haven't seen that one. And then Amazon Prime made a movie, which is this one, 13 Lives, directed by Ron Howard. And it's like 2.5 hours, maybe even longer. And I had some time like on a Sunday afternoon. I was like, oh, it's a 2022 movie. I'll watch it. It's on my list. Thinking it's just going to be a fine, movie kind of cashing in on a famous event. And I really, really liked it. Technically, it's very, very well done. Like the going in and out of the caves and that claustrophobic feeling and, the kind of, the diving scenes and the kind of flooding and the mountains and the caves and this and the Thailand culture and the clash with the, and the race against time and the kids in the in the cave. And technically, I just thought it was really well done, and I was just engaged the whole long length of the movie. And It's got Viggo Mortensen, who's like the best actor. He's in it.
Yeah.
And Colin Farrell's also in it. They played two of the divers. And yeah, it was like a good kind of retelling of an amazing rescue.
Hectic period of time.
Yeah.
An amazing real life event, I guess.
Yeah, and I was just like, it's, there are, was real heroes don't wear, not all heroes wear capes.
Yeah.
Like the fact that these
Some
guys,
wear scuba gear.
not only the Western divers, but all the Thailand,
Yeah.
the Thai Navy SEALs who were going, and two of the Thai Navy SEALs died, and it's just like they were going in and out, and I didn't know, like, to get to the kids under the water in these tiny little shoulder width caves, flooded. It was like 16 miles or something.
Wow.
Damn.
I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting.
a long distance.
I'm forgetting the actual. It's probably not that much, but it's a long distance. I was surprised by how long they had to go, just to squeeze just to find the kids, and then getting them out. That's a whole nother hour and a half of the bloody movie, or even longer. So yeah, I was just surprised. I think it surprised me more that I liked it as much as I did.
Yeah.
How much time we got? All right, I'll do one more really quickly, or should we go off here?
We'll do one more because we'll probably have quick.
Oh yeah,
very
well,
quick
this
thoughts.
one's a good one because Alan already knows this one.
Yeah,
but
so I'm not going to take it.
yeah, you can't
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
So number 12 is RRR or Triple R, which was the Tollywood, not Bollywood film that I talked about a few weeks ago.
The epic.
Yeah, epic, crazy, over the top, kind of cheesy, in your face kind of bromance, action, adventure, drama, musical, crazy. Yeah, roller coaster of a movie that I was not expecting. I heard everyone talk about how awesome it was, but I didn't believe it until I actually sat down and watched it. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. It's like 3 hours long, like all Bollywood movies, all Indian movies. But yeah, really awesome, crazy, over the top action, and just it's done with a certain sincerity that I don't think Western directors have, because it is really cheesy and dumb. But if this was a Western movie, it would be more like Fast and Furious, which I love, but it's kind of like, oh, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is just done with such sincerity, and I don't know, I just really liked it, and it actually opened my, I'm going to start watching more Indian films, and we've got
We've got a special episode coming.
Yeah, we've got a special episode, so keep an ear out for that. All right, so we're up to 12.
Look, we might leave it here for the on-air portion of the episode. Obviously, the podcast will continue after this short break. We'll be back right after this. You're back on the Tuesday review. Alan has left us at this point in the show, so you're rejoined by Nathan, Callum, and James. Continuing James's list of best 2022 movies, we're now going to talk about After Yang, which I'm guessing is the sequel to Before Yang.
Yes, exactly. So number 13.
In the same shared universe as After Sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So
making
After
that
Sun,
up, listeners.
After Sun, After Yang. Yeah. Number 13, After Yang. I saw this again like a year ago. Came out. I would probably put it lower on my list, but then I was like, oh, it's probably just because I haven't seen it in a very long time. And I'm like, I think I really liked it. And after a while, I got sick of doing this list. I was like, no, you can stay where you are. So
This is just it's number 13 because of oversight. Just lack
no,
of
it's just
oversight.
like I wanted this in my top
Yeah.
20 or 25, but I'm like, should it be lower? I'm like, how much did I really like it? And I'm just kind of like, but it's been such a long time since I've seen it.
Mm.
I'm just kind of like, is that why I'm feeling? But I'm like, no, it's good and I liked it, and it's staying there. Shut up. You
Yeah,
can
that's
go
it.
there. All right, so it's another A24 film, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Another Colin Farrell movie. Damn, this guy's
Colin's
busy.
on
running,
game,
yeah,
yeah.
running theme.
It's another like very quiet, sort of contemplative, just nice film, quote unquote. it's set in a sort of, it's the future, but it's just like everything's just kind of chill and everyone's dressed like hipsters and
That's not chill at all.
no, like hipsters, like look up a screen. Can you see if you can see a
look
screenshot?
up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone's just kind of like, it's just everyone has like modern houses and with lots of glass. And Colin Farrell's job in the movie is like he
slaps hipsters.
no, everyone in the movie is a hipster.
So it's a dystopian movie.
No, I shouldn't have said
I'm
hipster.
winding you, I'm
I
winding
shouldn't
you up,
have said
winding you
hipster. It was the wrong. It's just kind of like
Yeah, I know. what you
everyone's
mean.
very new agey.
Yeah,
It's very like his job in the movie is like he makes like Eastern teas
Oh, cool.
and he sells like tea leaves.
That's awesome.
Like it's just a very quiet movie. There's no real action or
Yeah,
I
I,
can't
see
do
what you
quiet
mean.
movies.
New agey
The
costumes.
the
yeah.
tinnitus would drive me crazy for a quiet film.
after.
Yeah, that's it.
But anyway, yeah, and it's sort of set in this world where like China and America have at some point had a war and just eventually just kind of combined. But now it's so far after that that just everything's cool now.
How Philip K. Dick?
Yeah, but there's no seedy,
There's no meanness.
there's no
to it.
darkness under
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like, oh, the government is actually. It's just like this is where we are now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Some stuff happened. Now we're in a future where it's like Asian culture, Western culture. It's just kind of melded.
Yeah.
Everyone's cool with each other.
Yeah.
You know, Colin Farrell character who's a white guy is like selling Chinese tea at a Chinese tea shop, and it's not like a
It's
goofy, funny thing. It's just like in this world, everything is
The cultures have blended.
yeah. It's a utopia.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably pick it apart and go, ugh, but the movie's not about that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
it's about Colin Farrell, his wife, and their adopted Chinese daughter, like just living together and having a nice life. And they buy a robot called Yang, who he's basically like a caretaker and a teacher for the young girl. But it's just to get her more in touch with her Chinese roots, so that Yang is a Chinese android,
yeah.
basically. But he looks fully human. There's no,
Oh, right.
there's no.
So he's not
there's
like
no
he's not
boxy-
like a big.
I was,
Yeah.
I was
robot,
expecting
it's
like
not
a
a
40s
boxy
style robot.
No, it's not a boxy. Yeah.
It's not like from the Jetsons.
No, everything is very sleek and
Yeah.
and he looks human. If you didn't like, basically
Yeah.
you can't tell him apart from human. And he basically, he teaches her things and he teaches her Mandarin and whatever, and he becomes part of the family. But he's also like a human android who kind of starts developing his own personality or whatever, or his own feelings.
Yeah.
And so one day he shuts down and the family doesn't know why. And it's kind of about them trying to deal with the loss of a family member who technically wasn't really a family member. He was almost like an appliance, I guess.
So it's a movie about robot depression in the future.
Sort of, but it's just kind of this weird movie about loss and family and...
I think anything with AI should be considered a person,
That's the thing. It's just like, and you start as they try to investigate why he's shut down, and they're feeling this loss of a family member. They start to discover it's like, oh, maybe he wasn't just an android. Maybe he was his own guy doing his own stuff. They find like photographs in his room, and he's like, oh, he had hobbies. He had his own life.
That's awesome.
That we didn't even know about, and they start to realize that this guy was also a human.
Kind of an
Or
interesting.
also his own person.
He's
kind
a
of
conscious
interesting-
entity in his own right.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting theme in 2022 because the Orville did something similar.
I mean, AI is so hot right now, and
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean,
Not in
but
a good way.
It's been but it's been a staple in science fiction
Yeah.
for years, 100
The
years.
robot trying to find the soul.
Yeah, it's like, what does it mean to be human? Blade Runner,
Yeah.
But this is a very kind of quiet, kind of contemplative, nice film about that.
That
and
sounds awesome.
it's kind of sad and melancholy.
Is it like available on streaming anywhere, or is it just
I think it would be by
like a
now.
cinema film still?
No, it came out a year ago, so it should be on streaming.
Maybe I'll look
now.
for it.
Yeah, but it's definitely worth watching. Number 14, Boiling Point. Do you want to guess this one?
Ooh,
Documentary about Fahrenheit or Celsius or something.
Fahrenheit versus Celsius.
it's about a kitchen.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, so good. I mean, I assume Boiling Point. I'm like, is it about a chef losing his mind or something?
Oh no, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
You're right.
I'm like, he's reaching my boiling point,
Nathan.
and all the sous chefs are like,
10 points to Nathan. So this is a British film with. Do you guys know Stephen Graham? If you looked him up, you'd know who.
Oh,
he was.
it's
The
a
name
familiar
rings a bell.
name.
English
Yeah.
actor. Yeah, he plays a chef who's running his own kind of popular restaurant, and the whole movie, it's like 90 minutes long, and it's all in one take. And
Yeah.
unlike other movies, it's literally all in one take. Like, it's not stitched together. There's no digital trickery.
So they filmed it in an hour and a half.
They film, yeah, it's all real time, and it takes place over the course of one night at this busy restaurant in like middle of London.
Sounds like a stressful production. That's what it sounds
Oh,
like.
it's stressful production, and it's a stressful movie because you guys still haven't watched The Bear.
No.
The Bear is like that. Well, it was like just yelling, guys swearing at each other in the kitchen, trying to get orders out, and customers getting angry and sending things back and whatever. It's like that, but 90-minute
Long
British movie version where he's like, they're like walking, from the kitchen to the front, and the camera will, go into the kitchen, and you'll see what the kitchen staff are doing, and then they'll move out and they'll go to see what the wait staff are doing in the front end, and yeah, it was just really technically well done because obviously that if you screwed it up badly, you have to start again. I think I can't remember exactly, but they started filming in like early 2020, and they plan to do like 6 or 7 or 8 takes, which is basically the whole film. So they film the movie 8 times, but like they did like 3 or 4, and then the COVID lockdowns happened, and they had to just stop.
I mean, they'd be able to
And-
stitch if the camera
No,
work is
but they didn't
reliable
want to
and-
stitch. That's the thing, and they didn't do that. They I think they picked the 3rd take or something, and that's the movie.
Because I was going to
that we
say,
see.
if the camera work is consistently, we'll say if it's consistent, then they could have just sort
They
of...
could have, yeah, but I think the plan was
But
always to pick
it was
one
to do
out
it
of the
right,
8.
yeah.
But they only got to do 3 or 4. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, it's a very impressive technical movie. The performances are all fantastic. It's a very naturalistic, kind of realistic, quote unquote, movie. And it's just about all these, the chef and him stressing out, and he's got money problems and he's got addiction problems. And then a sort of Gordon Ramsay kind of celebrity chef, Jamie Oliver guy who used to work with, comes in and starts giving him backhanded compliments and starts, ordering all food. And then you've got the wait staff who are dealing with, rude customers. And it's just kind of it's just moving around, and it gets really stressful. And yeah, it reaches a boiling point. And I really liked it. I thought it was really well done. And I heard they're going to do a TV show spin-off, which usually I'd be like, bad. But I guess if it's BBC, they'll do like 3 episodes and then that's it. And apparently the main cast is coming back. So
That could be good.
could be
fun.
good. The
I
Bear
could
is
think of-
good. So
I could
the
think
kitchen.
I include
show.
fast food workers with this, but I could think of no worse profession than being like...
We were talking about the
I
other
equate
night.
them at the same level. The
Yeah.
stress I would get for like...
No.
being in a rush with food service,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
couldn't handle it.
No,
No.
like even the 14-year-old who gets
Yeah.
your order wrong
No,
at
much
Hungry
respect.
Jack's, respect him, man, or respect them, because
I couldn't do it that
No.
way. I could not imagine the stress that people get put under when they've
Yeah.
got like just that kind
I
of
mean,
constant.
I've worked in retail. You guys work in normal retail. That's stressful enough. Now add food and picky people
Being in
and
the hot
angry people
kitchen
and
all the
hot
time. Oh.
and ingredients and things
And,
going,
well,
mess.
food takes a while to make, but people expect it instantly.
Yeah,
You know, it's
exactly.
Like it's
yeah,
unrealistic expectations set to 11.
yeah. So imagine that, but a movie.
Oh,
And-
no. Too stressful.
yeah,
I'm going to
and a
cross
lot
this
of-
off my list. Do not watch.
And a lot of English people swearing at each other, which we always appreciate, but can
Yeah.
be very stressful.
Next movie.
Number
I have
15.
I have a vague idea of what it's
I think
about.
you know this one.
Yeah, Tar. It's
It's
famous.
Callum-
about, it's about
Callum
a
knows.
teacher or something like that.
A conductor.
A
Professor,
conductor,
conductor.
yeah.
And apparently they do some terrible things, but I
Yes.
don't know much more about that.
Yeah.
Other
So
than
Tar, it's about Kate Blanchett plays a famous female conductor called Lydia Tar, who basically, I don't know how to say it without spoiling it. It's basically her exploits and her rise and fall, if you want
Yeah.
to call it. I won't say much more, but it's very well done film. There's a lot going on. I think it's a film, if I rewatch it, it might go up in my list. But I'd have to rewatch it. I think after I watched it once, I was like, there's a lot going on that I need to digest. So I'll need to come back to it at some point. I want to rewatch it. I just haven't had time. It's a very long film. It's like a lot going on. Looks really good. It's well constructed, well written, well acted. Kate Blanchett is very good. And it's one of those movies that's like no one likes an arsehole, but we like watching movies about assholes. Like Succession, all those people are awful. All the characters are awful, horrible people, but we love watching them week to week and them screwing each other over and them winning and them losing, and so it's kind of like that.
I mean, that's all fine unless if everyone's an asshole, then it's fine. But if it's an asshole picking on the little person,
yeah.
I only like to see them get
No, yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
you want to see them get their comeuppance, but there's still something compelling about
someone who's unhinged.
Yeah, and especially, and this is very much a sort of tactic the movie uses, where because she's a woman, you're looking at it differently, or you're disarmed. But if you just think, if this was a man, what the hell? And I think the movie does that deliberately. I think the director was doing that deliberately.
Provocative.
Yeah, I think even Kate Blanchett's character is playing. She's playing a very masculine woman.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of it. It's kind of looking at like the Me Too kind of movement and sort of misogyny and using power over people to coerce them into doing things they might not want to do, but from a woman's perspective. Not the victim's perspective, the woman actually doing it. And so it's like automatically you're like a bit disarmed and you're like, hang on, how am I supposed to feel about this? It's just a very complex film, and she keeps digging herself deeper into a ditch. And there's a lot going on with her past, and that's kind of revealed later. It's a good movie. Well done. 16, Godland.
Is it a movie about Jerusalem?
No, but that would be a good
I was going to say
title.
it's either set in the Middle East or Rome.
No.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah. So this is about Danish.
Yes.
I think I'm right. It's a Danish film set in the 1800s about a priest who is sent to a very remote part of Iceland.
I'm interested.
Oh God, I hope it's Iceland. But yeah, Finland? Iceland's
Godland,
even
James.
more
That's the name of the movie.
Yeah. But he's sent out into a very remote part and to build a church and sort of get the community under his wing, whatever the term is.
To force religion on the masses.
Well, I think they're already Catholic, but
Okay.
he's going there to see, because
Reform the community.
it's a very remote part. It's a very remote village, and the church is like, go out there, build the church, and preach. They need a church out there. But that's definitely part of it, of like forcing your will on. Anyway, it's like a 2.5 hour movie. The first hour is just the traveling.
Oh.
And it's so like it's just freezing weather and like awful, rain and slush and mud, and they're trying to get to this place, and it's just like, yeah, it's just a real
Arduous journey.
yes.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the movie is like when they get to the place, and then it's like about the priest and like not fitting in and not knowing the language and sort of building the church and sort of people being a bit standoffish and, and just kind of gets worse and worse as it goes along. Visually, it's a very beautiful movie. It's based on those old wet plate photographs, the big square ones where
Yep.
everyone's standing still looking at the, black and white. And so the movie's shot in 4:3. It's in color, but every shot is like an old kind of photograph looking thing. And the priest has one of those old wet plate cameras, and he's like sets it up and and that's part of the movie as well. So it's very beautiful. I wasn't sure, I was like, maybe I should put it lower, but I think just visually, technically, it was very, very well done.
Nice.
Number 17, Women Talking.
Oh, 10 guesses.
Oprah.
No. So this is a movie about like a Amish Mennonite kind of
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that.
type of
Enclosed community.
closed community, very religious, no real technology.
Yeah.
And it's about it's basically like it's not based on any one event, but not any one community.
Yeah.
But it's just taking that as a framework.
Yeah.
And it's basically the girls, young girls and women, and even some of the older women are getting assaulted in their sleep, like sexually assaulted in their sleep. And the men tell them, oh, it's the devil, you've got the devil in you, whatever. Eventually they find out that it's actually the men and boys of the town attacking the women at night.
Jesus.
And the men who are mostly responsible are arrested and taken, because they're in the middle of the farm in the middle of nowhere. They're taken to the nearest town to jail. And all the other men decide to go into town and to bail them out. And so they all leave, and it's only the women left on the farm. And basically it's like a 2.5 hour movie. It's almost like a stage play where the women of this community get together and like, what do we do? Do we run? Do we stay? Do we fight? Because the men are all going to come back and nothing's going to change. And what they're doing is awful. And, how can we move forward? And so it's basically, it's women, it's literally women talking. And everyone has a different point of view. We should stay. We should go. We should just pray and forget about it. We should kill them. One of them is just like, we should kill them all. And so you get this back and forth, and it's this tug of war between differing, what should we do? What shouldn't we do? What about the young boys? And then they think, what about the young boys? Should we take the boys with us? They're not at fault, even though they'll grow up to be men.
Yeah.
Should we leave the boys? At what point, at what age do they become men, and should we leave them behind? And it just becomes more and more complex. And none of them can read or write because in their village, women aren't allowed to do that. So there's one man left who's a school teacher, and they allow him to take notes.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of male sort of point of view of the film. But he's sympathetic to their cause, and there's backstory behind that as well. It's a very interesting, well-written, it's based on a book, I believe, film. And I was very affected by it because I was just like seeing it from that perspective. And also, like questioning is just like, how do we stop violence against women, but also punish men without them feeling like they're being ostracized to a point where they go and do a Andrew Tate.
It's a negative feedback loop.
Yeah. It's just like what's the right answer? And, I don't think the movie,
there was
can give you a solid answer for...
There was an episode of Bill Maher actually that dealt with that quite extensively. They had an expert on in this type of matter. And he said that the problem, and this is in an American context, I don't know about an Australian context.
Yeah.
They're probably largely the same. He said that the problem is there's not enough male teachers. So the male role models that are available to young men are men like Andrew Tate specifically, as well as a lot of the feminist messaging is violence against women, that type of thing, but it doesn't. A lot of it, again in America, doesn't offer up the alternative.
Young men who are confused and they feel like they're being.
But there's no such thing as like a healthy men's club for young men. It's more like there's no place where they can go to learn how to be social from males, showing them good examples of male behavior.
A lot of young men will take out their aggression in a healthy way. We'll say at the gym, but that's still a violent act. There's no, I guess, outlet.
There's no emotional outlet, and there's no intellectual outlet.
Yeah,
that's right.
A lot of it goes back to a lot of these
And
movies
that's what
have
these-
a lot of these movies have something in common, which we've been talking about tonight. Is that kind of
male
males'
emotions.
mental health?
Yes,
Men talking about their problems,
and that's what, and it's something that why it affected me as well. It's like the male character, he's the teacher, and they're like to him, like, you have to stay, you can't come with us, even though we might want you to, and you might want to, because you're the one who's going to teach the young boys to be better. And I'm like, that's the only way we can fix this, is to teach them from a young age not to be awful, not just to women, but to anyone. And again, it's like at a certain age, do you give up on them or do you keep trying? And there's a lot, I won't spoil it, but there's things in the movie of like, can you force someone to change? And is that a good idea?
We need more Ted Lassos than we have Andrew Tates. That's the only way to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why a lot of these movies that really connected with me and affected me were about mental health, specifically male mental health.
Well, it is a big problem right now.
Because it's a big problem.
Like Andrew Tate shouldn't be as big as he is.
And it's something I've been sort of struggling with and trying to get better myself. And so when I see movies that are both entertaining and well made, but also sort of hit at a
larger message,
and also a message that I am
it's definitely
familiar with.
It's definitely a zeitgeist issue, because I think it's not just you're not alone. Obviously, you know that.
Yeah.
But like the COVID lockdowns and just also the hecticness of history. We're living through history constantly.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about it off air.
Yeah.
It's like it gets tiresome constantly living through interesting times.
Yeah, it's just there's always something crazy going on.
It wears you down, yeah.
Yeah.
Next movie, The Quiet Girl, at number 18, is about a cloister or a nunnery.
No, but that's a good guess.
I tried.
I think we should write some of these scripts based on the titles, your misconceptions of the titles. The Quiet Girl, another quiet contemplative film. It's an Irish film, but it's all in like the Irish language, like Gaelic, Gaelic. And it's set in like 1980 roughly. It's about a little girl who she's one of 10 children or whatever, you know how the Irish are. Sorry.
Irish Catholics,
Yeah. It's like one of 10 kids, and the kids all run around destroying the place, and they live in this small little cottage on a farm, and the parents just had a new baby. The mum just had a new baby, and they can't take care of all these kids. And she's like 10 or 11 or whatever. She's not a bad kid, but she's quiet, and she just wanders off, and she wets the bed, and they don't want to deal with her. And so they like palm her off to like a second cousin or something, who are like in their 40s, like a couple, like a man and a woman. And they're like, can you just take care of her until the baby comes and we, get ourselves settled? And they're like, yeah, of course. And so it's about this little girl who's just really like timid, very mousy, timid, very, conserved introverted, withdrawn. Yes.
Yeah.
And she gets to the relative's place, and they're really nice to her, and you're just kind of like, what's going on? And they're trying to bring her out of her shell, but she's kind of, resistant. And the more, and the father, looking after her is like, he's kind of like standoffish. He's like, I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. Just whatever. And the mum is really caring. And so like this just nice film about like her her kind of growth and like their growth, because then I won't spoil it, but then you realize why they're the way they are, and sort of it's just about them kind of sort of and her finally getting a family who cares about her, and which automatically makes her better. Like she stops wetting the bed. She comes out of her shell. And it's just like, it's the same thing as Women Talking. It's the same thing as a lot of these other films. You just treat people with kindness and compassion and, give them a little bit of wiggle room. They'll automatically just thrive. So I think that's what I liked about the movie. It's a very kind of simple, quiet film.
Yes.
Number 19.
Close. UFO Disclosure.
Oh,
always
no.
close,
No,
but never here. It's always close, but never here. Callum's like, I've had enough, bro. Triggered.
All right, so this is a Flemish film. So like in that kind of weird area where it's like they speak Dutch and French, and it's like kind of Belgian. I don't know. This one's another kind of quiet sort of film. It's about two little boys. They're like 12 years old. They're very close friends. That's why it's called Close. They do
too close.
Well, that's the part of the movie is they do everything together. They play together. They always sleep at each other's house. They even share the same bed when they sleep over each other's house. They're very affectionate with each other. There's nothing sexual. They're 11,
kids,
12-year-old. They're kids. But they've grown up together and they're like best friends. And they're very close. Then they get to high school or, 7th grade or whatever it's called.
And it becomes a problem.
And all of a sudden they start getting bullied and people start questioning their sexuality. And one of the boys starts getting standoffish and pushing away his friend. And it's basically
It's the Banshees of Inisherin for kids.
yeah, almost, yeah. And so it's basically the breakdown of their relationship and how it affects each kid and the parents and how we, again, another sort of topic we've been talking about is like how we imprint like, oh, you have to be a man. You can't do certain things. You can't act certain way. And how that can affect a young person. Again, like the male mental health thing of like, yes, undoubtedly girls face the worst sort of body image problems and that kind of stuff. But I think there is a male part of it as well. It's just like if you speak a certain way or if you like certain things, you're automatically...
There definitely is that kind of homophobic element towards, say, male friendships. Like in this example, I imagine if it was two young girls, 11 or 12 years old,
no one would have bat an eye.
With the same behaviours, it's considered normal.
Yeah.
But for the two young boys, it's considered gay.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like what, obviously there's outside notions of what's appropriate for a male friendship.
And they're just kids, like they're just friends and there's nothing else going on. But everyone else brings their baggage to it and that affects them and their relationship. And things start to fall apart. So another kind of very, very good film, sad film, but well made.
Very good. The next movie on our list is called Broker, and I imagine it's about debtor's prison because you're broken and broke.
No, but close. Number 20, Broker. This is a Korean film about a young woman who gets pregnant. The father's not around. She decides to abandon the baby at a church.
Okay.
Like a sort of church thing. And then she leaves. The guy working at the kind of adoption church / community center is secretly working with another guy who's in debt. They take unclaimed children and they sell them.
Oh no.
And so they take the baby. They're like, "Oh, jackpot! The mother's not coming back." You know, she didn't leave a name. She didn't leave.
Babies go for?
I don't remember. I looked it up when I was because what is it? What's the Korean? Is it won?
Yeah.
It's the Korean currency. I looked it up and it was like it varied. I'd have to refresh my memory, but yeah. Anyway, they take their baby. They're like jackpot. Then the mother returns, and she's like, "I made a mistake. Please give me my baby back." And they're like, what?
Baby?
Yeah, what baby? And so she's like,
No refunds.
Yeah, she's like, they're like, "We didn't find any baby. Never heard of it. Who are you?" Yeah. So anyway, she keeps badgering them until they finally admit, like, "We have the baby. We're going to sell it. If you shut your mouth and don't dob us in, we will cut you in on the profit." And so she's like, sort of young girl on the streets, kind of sex worker. She's like, "Okay, deal." And then it becomes this weird kind of quirky family road trip where they're driving around trying to sell this baby to couples, like under the table, you know.
Hey, buddy, you want a baby?
And they start bonding, and they're like, "Oh, maybe
That's weird.
yeah, maybe we should
Keep the baby.
yeah." It's like maybe we should kind of keep the baby, and maybe the mother is like, "Maybe I do love the baby and want to raise it." And, you know, maybe the two guys are like, "Why are we like this? Why do we do this awful thing of selling babies?" One of them was an orphan. He's like, "That's why I sell them, so they can have better lives." And then it goes into and then there's an orphan kid stows away in their van. And
I assumed the good people weren't buying babies. That's just me.
No, well, the couples that buy the babies are like
They probably don't
in
know
desperate situations.
Also, do they necessarily know it's illegal?
I think it's just
If
like
you fake
they
some paperwork.
Yeah, I think one of the couples was like, "Oh, we've had so many miscarriages, and we just like there's something." They had a story, and they're like, we just can't wait anymore. We're on the list or something." But they're like, "Can you just
give us
some?"
a baby.
Yeah, it's not a black and white thing. It's not like these people are evil. But anyway, yeah, as it goes on, they kind of develop this little de facto family. And you start kind of sympathizing with them, and they start realizing that maybe what they're doing is wrong. I think this one might, if I watch it again, might move up in my list. I'm not sure. Okay. It's hard to tell. A lot of these movies I've only watched once. But yeah, I really did like it. And especially after the 10th movie in this list, they start to get a bit, they could go in any sort of order. They can move up and down.
The list becomes a bit more fluid.
Yeah. What's the next one?
Decision to Leave, number 21, which I imagine it's an animated movie about a tree being like, "You know what? I'm not gonna. There's gonna be no leaves this year. It's autumn all year round."
Decision to leave. Yeah, I like that.
Is it about
we need to write these. We should write these. I'm going to listen to this back and write these down.
Is it about domestic violence?
No.
Okay.
But also yes. Wait, no, yes.
Please continue.
Okay, so this is another Korean movie. Koreans make the best movies.
The last few years.
Not even before the last few years.
No, but like even like in
but
the
yeah,
West,
recently they've become more because of streaming, like and Netflix and Squid Game and stuff. It's become more in the
more mainstream in the West.
You mean Netflix made an adaptation of that Mr. Beast thing? That's interesting.
Mr. Beast, what?
Mr. Beast did a real life Squid Game.
Don't worry.
Obviously, people didn't die.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
that's
Let's not talk about.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, Decision to Leave. This is by Park Chan-wook, the legendary Korean director. This is a very twisty, turny kind of murder mystery movie about a detective investigating a kind of wealthy man's. A wealthy man is found dead at the bottom of a cliff, and he likes to go hiking. So they're like, "Oh, it's an accident." But then the detective is like, "Well, we have to look into it." He's like, "This doesn't quite add up." So he starts looking into the wife. And while he's investigating the wife, he starts to learn some stuff about her past, but he also starts to kind of fall in love with her and become obsessed with her. And she's kind of leading him on a cat and mouse kind of game.
Yeah.
And it's a long movie. It's like 2.5. And they're kind of going back and forth. And they're like, it takes place over like a year of them, like him trying to catch her out, her kind of leading him on. But then him kind of like, maybe she's all right. Maybe I'll fall in love with her. and then just kind of gets twisty and turny. And this is another one I have to rewatch because there's a lot to digest. Yeah. Especially because it's in Korean and you're reading the subtitles, which I don't have a problem with, but I think there's a lot lost in translation, especially when characters are saying things like in metaphor, because she doesn't want to come out and implicate herself. He doesn't want to come out and say "I love you." So they're speaking in metaphors and
they're dancing.
they're dancing around things. So I could imagine listening, watching this and knowing Korean would be a much more
nuanced understanding. Yeah.
But just the movie itself, with the English subtitles, is still very good, and I would have to watch it again and sort of get a lot of more. Yeah, but a really good movie. 22.
Argentina, 1985. Hitler's death of old age in Argentina.
Oh, that would be a good movie. Nazis hiding out in South America in the 80s. Yeah, I'd watch that. Boys from Brazil. Yeah. So this movie is a sort of based on the true events of after, in the 70s, I want to say, there was like a fascist dictator who ruled Argentina, and the military was the government.
Yeah.
And they were like, kidnapping people, killing people, torturing people, just awful time. Eventually there was a coup and they got ousted and a sort of democratic government got put in. And this is set in 1985 or in the 80s. And it's about like the head prosecutor or whatever, the district attorney, whatever the correct term is. He's put in charge of investigating these crimes and bringing the military to justice.
Yeah.
Which is an insane task. You've got most of these guys are still in the military. Most of these guys are still in power. A lot of this, they still have a lot of support. There's a lot of hush, no one talk, sweep it under the rug. A lot of records in the shredder. And it's basically him, and he's given no resources, no time. And they're like, build a case, bring the men to justice. And it's like a really long, over 2.5 hour movie, maybe. I can't remember. And, his family's getting threatened. And he's like, do I stand my ground and do the right thing, or do I back off? And he's investigating, and he's got this young team of like, paralegals and stuff helping him out because no one else wants to help him. And there's a funny bit in the film where him and his old friend are like trying to figure out who from the old days can we get. And they're like, oh, what about, Juan? And he's like, oh, no, he's a fascist now. It's like, damn. So, oh, what about Pedro? And it's like, no, he's fascist too. It's like, god damn. It's like, oh, what about Miguel? Oh, he's super, super fascist.
We don't talk about Miguel.
Yeah, it's just like this whole thing of like everyone's kind of... A lot of the people who were under that regime sort of, or fighting against that regime, just kind of switch sides or whatever. And it's about this one guy who's like, he's the only guy left who's kind of like trying to stand up for what's right. So it's like a kind of investigative movie, but also like a legal courtroom drama. And this one was also higher in my list, but I kind of moved it down after seeing some other films. It's very well made for a long film. About a kind of dry,
didn't feel long
subject. It didn't feel long. It's very engaging, and it's about a very interesting part of history that I didn't know a lot about.
Yeah,
and it's based on true events, and I looked it up
afterwards. It's not stuff that's explored that much.
Yeah, and it's just the witnesses talking about how they were tortured by the police, and it's just so awful. It's a really well done film about getting justice the right way. Not an action movie where they kill everyone. It's just like we're going to go through the processes and put these men behind bars and stuff. Yeah, good movie.
23, Brian and Charles, about Charles Manson's lesser known accomplice and partner in crime.
Brian Charles.
We really need to make these. These are all gold.
Brian Charles sounds like a National Lampoon's or Naked Gun
Brian
style take on the Charles Manson story.
Yeah, it's a buddy crime movie.
Leslie Nielsen is Brian Charles.
No, Brian and Charles.
Oh, but Brian
No,
Manson.
no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, no.
Brian Manson. Yeah.
Oh, it's his long lost cousin.
Yeah.
Gets him out of jail, and they go on a second killing spree. Brian
But he
and
does it in really silly ways.
Slapstick. Yeah. Whoops, the slapstick serial killer.
Whoa. Charles Manson is the slapstick. He's such a goofball. Anyway,
Was such a goofball.
huh?
Was such a goofball.
Oh yeah. R.I.P.
I guess. Oh man.
Hey, Jerry Springer died. R.I.P. Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Not Charles Manson.
No.
No.
Okay. So what is it actually
All
about
right.
before we lose our minds?
This episode's gone on too long. All right, we've got 3 more films. They're gonna
Focus,
bang it
boys.
out.
Focus, boys. Focus.
Brian and Charles is a fun little British comedy about a. Can you look it up and get the main actor's name? You know him
Yes.
if you see him. He plays that. Do you guys remember Afterlife? Ricky Gervais's Afterlife on Netflix. You know that weird guy with the big pedo glasses and the
Yes.
Oh yeah.
greasy hair.
Yeah.
It's that
He
guy.
is David Earl.
Yes. He plays this character called Brian, which he's been doing on... He's like a British comedian and actor who's been doing that character for like 2 decades. And it's this kind of weird, awkward, kind of weird guy with big glasses and greasy hair and who's like, oh, hello. And he's been doing this character for ages. And then another one of his friends started doing this funny voice, like a vocoder thing, like a robot. Like, hello, I am Charles. And so they started doing this double act, like Brian and his robot Charles. And so the other guy would come on stage with this big boxy robot costume with this like mannequin head on top and like a quadruple XL shirt, like men's shirt wrapped around the box so it looks like he's a big robot. And they would use the vocoder to be like, hello Brian, what are you doing? And they'd do like a double act. And then they started doing these short films of like little funny, things of like, it's like a little mockumentary about Brian taking Charles around the farm and showing him things because Charles has just been built and he doesn't understand how the world works. He's like, what is this? And Brian's, this funny little quirky guy who's lonely and so he built a friend and he's taking him around. Anyway, they made a feature film based on this. And yeah, it's about this mousy little guy who likes to tinker in his shed and he's like a little inventor, but everything he makes is dumb and doesn't work. He's like an inventor that all his inventions are stupid and he's like a little handyman. He goes around this little Irish or English or Welsh village, Scottish maybe. And, he helps people, with the plumbing and does it. But he's like very kind of, he's a little lonely and kind
meek.
of, meek. Anyway, he builds a robot, and one day that robot just comes alive because
Why not?
reasons. Because
Yeah.
nothing else he's made has worked, and this one day that robot just works. And so it's about his, relationship with, Brian's relationship with the robot Charles, and Charles is new to the world. He's learning about things, and he kind of, he doesn't know how everything works, and he's kind of clumsy and big, and he bumps into things. And it's like it's kind of mockumentary style and largely improvised. And so they'll do a lot of just funny back and forth. And it's very like light, wholesome, fun kind of film.
Cool.
And I enjoyed it a lot.
The next movie we have is 24, The Wonder,
Yes.
which is obviously about just a behind-the-scenes documentary of the Wonder White Bread Factory.
No. This one, Callum, we talked about this a long time ago. Do you remember it came out on Netflix? It's like an Irish English kind of film about like in the 1800s or whatever, about a nurse.
Yeah.
A nurse who's sent to a house in the countryside to
Someone won't eat.
investigate
girl who doesn't need
the
to
little
eat to
girl
survive,
who, the little girl who doesn't need to eat, and everyone's like, it's a miracle, God has blessed her. And it's about a nurse who's tasked to watch this girl 24/7 to see if it's actually a miracle or if there's some funny buggers going on, and to make sure the girl's all right, but also not let her eat and not let anyone feed her because the church wants to know, is this the real deal? Is this an actual miracle? And it's just this really, kind of, I don't know, not bleak, but it's in the English
It
country, very wet.
visually looks bleak.
Yeah, it's in that Irish or Scottish or whatever it is countryside, and it's very wet and
overcast.
and this girl is like, I'm a miracle, and she's all gaunt, and
Everyone's a miracle.
then the nurse is like, can you please just eat? Like, no one will say any, like, it's for your own health. And there's just
another movie about mental illness.
You know what? To quote Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, through God all things are possible. So jot that down.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good movie. Florence Pugh can't do no wrong. She's great. It looked nice, and I think a lot of these movies on my list have that kind of Irish, Scottish, English. Even the Godland, which was like the Scandinavian, has that kind of countryside and that bleak kind of wet, muddy, grassy kind of. And especially 1800s kind of stuff. I like all that stuff. And it's very interesting. It's not based on any one thing. It's based on a novel, but the novel's not based on any one story. But it is based on the true, real life miracle girls who were were shown, we don't eat, and like it became like a little bit of a cash cow for the parents. Like, donate to Jesus because it's a miracle. And it's about how she's like investigating how she forms a relationship with the girl, and her backstory, and then there's like a reporter guy who she falls in love with. Good movie.
Excellent.
Netflix still has a couple of good things on there.
Few and far between.
Well, couple on here.
I couldn't think of anything funny for our last movie, The Fallout, other than like my
Video
best
game
guess.
adaptation.
My best guess would be a divorce movie.
No, but that's a good guess. Yeah. So this is a movie I had no idea even existed. Randomly came across a YouTube video of this guy talking about it. And before he could finish, I didn't want to spoil it. So I stopped watching the video. I was like, I'll add it to my list. It's on binge.
Yeah.
Well, it's 90 minutes. What can hurt? I watched 121 other films. Might as well chuck it on
that's
there.
it.
So it's originally a made for HBO Max movie.
Right.
So here it's come onto binge. So it's just like a low budget little indie movie. I didn't really know anything about it. I just started watching it. And without giving anything away, it's got Jenna Ortega, who's so hot right now.
She is hot right now.
She's Wednesday in Netflix, and she's been in a bunch of things. She's in Scream. She was in X, yeah. So she's just become a big thing. I think she filmed this before Wednesday and all those other things came out. So, it's. I don't want to spoil it. So all I say is it's about. It's like a coming of age, like 16-year-old girl, 17-year-old girl in high school. Something bad happens, and this movie deals with the fallout of the event.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was like a high school drama, and then something happens.
And you were wrong.
And I was like, oh my God, I did not know that was going to happen. And that's why I'm not giving anything away, because I want people to watch the movie the same way I did.
Going blind.
And that's the best way to watch any movie, is to going completely blind.
My mum was sorry to interrupt.
No,
she was there was a movie she was like really interested in. She's watching the trailer. I'm like, just stop watching the trailer.
Yeah.
You know you want to watch it, so just go in blind.
Yeah.
Going blind, like the old couple went into the movies where we went to see Shape of Water.
Yeah, they went to the wrong cinema. I still regret.
It still gives us.
I still regret not asking them what they went to see.
What other movies?
I think the Downton Abbey movie was out at the same time.
Probably that.
Yeah.
But still, always gives us a chuckle.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Blind. Yeah, going blind, but also be in a good mood when you watch it, because it's a sad movie. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I did not know what happens was going to happen. It's not the best movie. It's kind of low budget. But it's like well acted, and it left an impression on me. And I think even though there are probably other films that I didn't put in my top 25 that I like more or that are better, the fact that I just had no idea what this is about and thought, this is about teenage girls getting into a tiff at school and having a falling out, and then what happens, and I was like, oh damn. And then the end of it left me sort of thinking about it. So I was like, I think I got to give it props. I got to put it in my top 25. We've gone on for too long, and I've rambled on for too long.
No, it's been good. We got
Yeah,
through the
we
top
got through the whole
25.
25.
That
yeah.
was the goal.
25. Yeah, I've got.
Next episode, listeners. We'll
What's
get through
122
I was gonna say-
minus 25? I'm bad at maths.
97?
I've
Next-
got 97 more movies.
That's what I was going to say. Next
Yeah.
week, listeners, 97.
Yeah, which we probably won't go through them either at all, or if we do come back and do a part 2, we'll just do a sort of
Honorable
quick
mentions list.
quick
yeah.
roundup. If there's anything you guys want to mention, we'll talk about that. But after the show ends, we'll talk and we'll see what we want to do. We might not do anything at all. But yeah, I do have a lot more films to talk about, but I'll shut up now. I'm never doing this again. This took too long.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
I'm really
When you-
jonesing to watch just like a bad 70s or 80s movie because I'm just been watching so many, modern films. Out of these 122 films, though, only about 6 or 7 were actually I thought were bad. The rest are okay to amazing.
So 2022 was a good year for film. Huh?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good, and I think when you deep dive like I did, and I didn't even get to all the films. There's still films I'm missing that I just I had to cut it off. I'm like after April, I'm done. So there's still more films, but I think if you deep dive on any year, you're going to find some hidden gems, and especially foreign films, that people don't really see or talk about, and little weird films that people aren't familiar with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm never doing this again. God damn.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for listening to my rambling.
Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, Instagram, and the Twitter. Still the Twitter.
For now. Delete Twitter if you... Yeah, but let us know if you're on there so we...
If you are listening, please let us know what you think. Your opinion is valuable to us.
What was your favourite movie of 2022?
Yeah.
Let us know if the list is wrong.
That's right.
Oh, I will let them know if they're wrong, definitely.
Let us know if the list is wrong. If you're listening
the
at
list.
home,
I thought you said if
list.
the listener was wrong.
No,
If
no,
my
let
list is
us
wrong.
know. No.
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come.
That's it. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening, everyone. Adios, cousins.